We now bring in Senate Leadership Fund President Stephen Law. Stephen, aside from just this specific Senate election, one of the things that's looming large is these 2018 midterm elections and the desire by Democrats to try to challenge Republicans and to take over the majority. Let me read to you just real quickly from Josh Kroshar of National Journal. He said that the reality that America is divided among deepening tribal lines continues to heavily favor Mitch McConnell maintaining his leadership of the Senate in 2019, even if it's by the narrowest of margins. Do you agree that regardless of what happens in Alabama tomorrow, that the Republicans maintain the edge for keeping the majority in 2018?
I think that's largely right, Dana. In fact, it would be extremely unlikely that Roy Moore would lose the Senate seat tomorrow. In fact, it's really an embarrassment that Steve Bannon is having to pull out all the stops to drag his candidate across the finish line in a state that typically votes for the average Republican by 22 percentage points. And that's the kind of model of state that typically we're going to be competing in next year, which is why I think the Republican Senate majority ought to be secure. We've got 10 different Senate seats where Democrats currently hold those seats that President Trump won in the last election.
I think we have a map of that, Stephen, if we could show you. Where, as people look at this map where the races are being held, where do you think you are most vulnerable for Republicans? Where do you think you might have a pickup opportunity?
Sure. Well, there are only 3 Senate seats at this stage that could be considered at risk, only one of which was carried by Hillary Clinton in the last election. That's Nevada, and I think Dean Heller's doing a good job of stabilizing himself there. I think Arizona, which was a race that we were very concerned about, I think has probably gotten a little bit more competitive now with the potential for Martha McSally to jump into that race. I think she'll be a fantastic candidate. And then the only other one is the open seat that's being left by Senator Corker. We think we're going to have a good candidate there, and even though Democrats have been very excited about Phil Bredesen, the truth of the matter is, in states like this that have been held by Republicans for a long time, as Josh Kroshar points out, the tribalization of American politics in a lot of ways works in our favor in a state like Tennessee and like these other states where we want to make sure we hold territory and advance the cause. And
so where do you think you might have pickup opportunities? Are there states where there are Senate Democrats who are up for re-election where President Trump won that you think are gettable?
Well, sure. There are 5 states that President Trump won by 20 percentage points or more. States like Missouri, Indiana, West Virginia, North Dakota, and Montana. Now, we don't have candidates in all of those yet who we think are going to be real contenders, but in most of them, we've either got primaries with very skilled candidates or we've got sole candidates who have already come to the fore who we think are going to be competitive. And then you add to that Florida, which President Trump won more narrowly, but if Governor Rick Scott jumps in against Bill Nelson, we count that as a very likely pickup for us. So you've got a tremendously large map for us to be able to increase our majority, and if we have any losses at all, to easily be able to offset that and make sure that we still have a majority.
You think that Democrats might actually be just dismayed to hear all of that because I'm sure that if they were here they would give us the other side of the story, but even your fundraising is pretty good. I'll give you the last quick word.
Yeah, and in fact, over the course of this last year, despite setbacks on Obamacare and concerns about the future of the country, we've had our best fundraising year since inception in the off year because our donors recognize the fact this could be a good opportunity, maybe an historic opportunity for us to grow our majority, and those don't come along very often.
In a midterm. All right, Stephen Law, thanks so much.
Thanks.